What we call winning. And this is unbelievable. I mean, what a stretch this has been between the jobs report today and, I think that big, beautiful bill just went through. Gosh, unbelievable stuff. They're blaring YMCA from the House floor now. This is a victory lap if I ever saw one.
On this vote, the yeas are 218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
Woo! Okay, so lots going on as we get ready for the big holiday, July 4th, right around the corner, and it is win, 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 win. The bill went through. Mamdani. You know, I don't think he's actually going to make it. I think that he's going to have a much harder time than you might think. And it's in part because, well, a lot of these folks that are just seeing all kinds of trouble now are seeing the chickens come home to roost, so to speak, right? I mean, you look at AOC, for example. We're going to get into all of that. Mamdani in hot water, AOC in hot water. Oh, and remember her? This one. Yeah, La Monica in hot water. Oh, yeah, we're going to get into all of it. Anyway, great to have you guys here. You can see I am once again on the road traveling, visiting family at my childhood home right here, back where it all started for the 4th of July holiday in good old live free or die territory, which is actually really kind of a great place to be over the 4th of July holiday. And I'm going to get into a little bit of that as we talk about this socialist communist who wants to take over New York City. Well, guess what? We have a problem because that is not what our country was founded on. That is not who we are. This is the United States of America, and we got a constitution to prove it. So lots going on as we are live today on the Trish Regan Show. Welcome. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. Donald Trump making a big threat, if you would, on this Mamdani. Yeah, Mamdani is cruising for a bruising, as some might like to say. Maybe that's a New England thing. I don't know. Anyway, this guy is bad news all around. He wants to, quote, tax the rich, tax the white. Yeah, his words, actually. And by doing so, they're going to remake New York City into his socialist utopia. I mean, forget about the fact that it's been done and tried all over the world before, and it has never worked. It's never worked for a reason. You know what makes us unique in the United States of America? The fact that we were the first country to come along and actually pay a little attention to something called property rights. We built that into our Constitution. That had never been done before. More on that coming up. But here's what's going on. Donald Trump is making a threat against this Mamdani, saying, you know what? If you were to try, as the mayor of New York City, to get in the way of ICE and federal officials trying to do their job, then guess what? Guess what? I'll let him say it. Here's the question and the answer. It's a little bit of a hypothetical because the guy hasn't won yet, although by most accounts, people seem to think that he's actually going to pull it off, which is terrifying in and of itself. The Democrat Party doesn't even know what to do. And here is Donald Trump saying he knows exactly what to do.
Mr. President, your beloved New York City may well be led by a communist soon, Zohran Mamdani, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City. Your message to communist Zohran Mamdani.
Well, then we'll have to arrest him.
Come on. I didn't intend for the music to be in there. We may actually have to go out and take that out. That was a little meme on the internet. But yeah, he said, well, look, we're going to have to go and arrest him. We're going to have to go arrest him because there's one thing that the Democrats keep forgetting over and over and over again. You're not talking about people that are here in the country legally that haven't done anything wrong. You're talking about people that are here illegally and have committed a crime. I mean, Kellyanne, I read this yesterday. I could just keep running this. This should actually be a meme. We should put this one on my Shorts channel. Note to self, Kellyanne saying it well. It's pretty basic because they are...
These are criminals, and I wish the Democrats would start focusing on the word criminal.
Yeah, I wish they would too. I mean, if you're going to try and arrest a criminal and the state and federal government, local government, I should say, try to get in the way, if the New York City mayor thinks he's better than the president of the United States and Congress, for that matter, I mean, we're not just talking about Trump. We're talking about laws that are on the books. The Congress and the president have to enforce. well, then you do have yourself a problem. A very, very, very big problem. And you know what? This is not unique, shall we say, to this guy, the commie, all right? It's not unique to him. He's unique in and of himself. I mean, he's the direction of the Democrat Party, unfortunately. But it's actually something that Donald Trump has proven himself quite willing and able to do. You just look at, as we said, La Monica. She's out there trying to push her weight around in New Jersey. And you saw what happened as a result of this. I mean, she's the one in red. If you're listening on Spotify, thank you for that. If you're not listening on Spotify, do me a favor, go over and follow the Trish Regan show. The video one there, actually, it's the one with the blue background and me in the red, just so you know. The red, remember that. Here's this lady in red wishing she didn't wear red that day because it was all caught on tape. Think about that. It's all caught on tape, and they're going to be looking at that very, very closely. In fact, the Fed said that they've got more tape, and you know what you saw. I know what I saw, and Alina Habba knows what she saw. I'm really close to the camera now. This is what happens when I'm on the road, right? Traveling at the parents' house. We don't have the full studio set up, but you guys are forgiving. Anyway, so here it is. Alina Habba charging her with violating Title 18 U.S. Code Section 111A1 for assaulting, impeding, interfering with law enforcement. And that indictment came down. So I point this out only because it's really relevant when you go to Zohran Mamdani and you think about what could happen with him. And he's like, well, it's pretty simple. We'll arrest him. Well, this is what's happening. In other words, you can't have a lawlessness kind of environment where you have the La Monicas of the world or the Zohrans of the world or anyone that's just deliberately violating federal law like she was. And it's one thing, okay, I get it. You want to make an appointment and go in and see things and make sure you're doing your job and making sure that the inmates are getting 3 squares a day and plenty of water and all that. That's fine. And no one's saying you shouldn't do that. But what we are saying is this is not acceptable. What we're seeing on camera is absolutely not acceptable. And it would not be acceptable if the possible communist mayor of New York City decided, Unc Andy, thank you so much. Appreciate the generosity. We are fully independent here on the Trish Regan Show, so we love when you guys pitch in. Happy 4th to you as well. Anyway, when you've got somebody like this commie that's trying to get elected in New York saying, I'm going to stand in the way of Donald Trump, well, that's just not going to work. I mean, he made it clear, right? When he saw La Monica out and about, that stuff, well, he said something else, has to end.
Oh, give me a break. Did you see her? She was out of control.
Did you address
those days are over.
Did
The
you
days
tell her
of
to do
woke.
that?
The days of woke. No, I didn't. The days of woke are over. That woman, I have no idea who she is. That woman was out of control. She was shoving federal agents. She was out of control. The days of that crap are over in this country. We're going to have law and order.
I like that. Okay, I know I'm close to the camera. Anyway, he is making sure that this is being followed through on by way of his attorney general, one Alina Habba. And she's serious. Like, she means business. She actually offered this woman an opportunity. La Monica, MacGyver. I get a kick out of it because it's like La Monica. It's not just Monica, it's La Monica. And, you know, it's like putting a the, like La Regina, the queen, La Monica. Anyway, she's saying, look, she's in violation of this, and so we're indicting her, and sure enough, she did. And somehow, La Monica thinks this is because she is a young, powerful Black woman. I'm sorry. If only it were that simple. I realize you guys always want to divide and conquer based on race and gender and all kinds of other stuff. But if only it were that simple. Here she is talking about why she's being targeted.
Is there something about you that is so threatening or scary to them?
Not that I thought. I mean, I am a young African-American woman from the city of Newark. I love serving people. I don't find myself to be intimidating or dangerous or any of those things that the Justice Department have been saying about me. You know, it's truly unfortunate to be in this situation, but at the same time, it goes back to the political intimidation about this administration. And because I'm speaking out, because I'm doing my job, I think they want to continue to silence leaders and, stop their critics from, speaking out against them. And so they'll go to any extent, especially any extent of cruelty, to make an example. And I am that example now.
And you say to silence you, did the Trump DOJ float or push anything other than going to trial?
I mean, absolutely. The acting U.S. attorney for New Jersey wanted me to admit to something that I did not do. That was not right. That's what she put in her tweet that we saw that night.
But if you had done that, were they saying they would drop the whole thing?
Yes. Yep. That is exactly what she
So
said.
that's a lot. I mean, again, that's a lot of pressure because some people would say, gosh, let somebody else fight this out. You're saying the whole thing could go away if you just said something.
Correct. And I was not doing that. I was not going to waver on that. Like I said, I went to Delaney Hall with my colleagues. We went there for an oversight visit, and we didn't do anything wrong. The whole tent situation that took place, DHS and Homeland Security and ICE, they created that, not us. And so, absolutely, I was not going to do that.
So they're holding her up now as like somebody who's standing up to Trump, that they're going to stand with her, that she's like the be all end all. Hakeem Jeffries coming to her defense saying, this is the woman that, we're so proud of, etc. It's like, guys, really, is this what you want to actually put your weight behind? No pun intended. I mean, really? Because she's just sitting there violating the law. And it seems that she's more concerned about protecting the illegal criminals that are in the facility there in Delancey, New Jersey, than she is about actually protecting the people that are out there in New Jersey working hard for a living. And I think this is where they're going to start to have some real breakdown and some real problems within the Democrat Party. And the more you see these kinds of people being elected, or having prominent positions within the Democrat Party, the more the Democrat Party is going to start to get nervous and worry that, you know what, we're in kind of a bad spiral downward. So if you're a Democrat right now, you're looking at your party saying, what the heck has happened? Because this is no longer the party of sanity. This is no longer the party that actually worked to get illegals out of the country because they knew that we couldn't afford them. Think about Barack Obama. I mean, Barack Obama was out there doing exactly what, by the way, Kristi Noem is doing now, right, at DHS, and Tom Homan is doing now, and President Trump is doing now. But back then it was okay because the Democrats were doing it. Now, well, it's a whole different ballgame. I mean, for goodness sakes, they ushered 20 million people in, and then they're trying to, send them to certain districts so that they can get more congressional representation. I mean, this is like gerrymandering on steroids. We know what was going on. We do know what was going on. And you have only to look at the 800,000 non-citizens that they wanted to vote in the state of New York that got shot down in December by the appellate court. But that tells you exactly what's going on. And so, again, I think that this administration is being very clear. They're not going to put up with it. So as he threatens to arrest this guy, Mamdani, oh gosh, we're spelling his name wrong. I'm going to have to get used to this. Zohran. I keep wanting to call him Zohran for some reason. Zohran Mamdani. Well, as he talks about, look, if he violates the law and gets in the way of federal law enforcement, we'll arrest him. Like, that's just what's going to happen. And it's not unique to the commie guy. It's just actually what's going on. Look at AOC now. Under investigation. AOC reportedly under investigation by the Justice Department because of two things. One, she allegedly had somebody here illegally who was working for her. And they're not messing around with this. I mean, you think about the boxer that right now, he just had a big fight with, what's that guy's name? Guys, what's that guy's name? He was a big YouTuber, actually, at one point. I'm going to get it. I'm going to pull it up. So the Mexican boxer is Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., and he just had this Jake Paul. He had this really big fight with Jake Paul just a couple weeks ago. Well, DHS has just announced that they're arresting him. They're arresting him because he's in the country illegally. He overstayed a visa. The visa was up in February, and so that's it. So AOC apparently had somebody who was working for her with a visa that wasn't quite right, and so he's allegedly here illegally, and the feds are looking at that. They're also looking at her because she's been out and about doing town halls, putting social media posts out saying, this is what you do. If ICE comes to your door, this is what you do. And they're questioning at what point does this become impediment? But I'll tell you for sure, she is under investigation for the illegal that was apparently working for her, as Tom Homan told our friend Benny on his show just this week.
Here's the article of the criminal alien staffer that AOC had on staff. Maybe you could just start here and as an explainer to me and to this audience, like, how's this even possible?
It's not possible, and I know that's being looked at. I can't comment on past that. I'm aware of it. We've asked ICE to drill in on that case. It's my information that there were actually. I can't really comment on it. We don't know if it was an illegal status or not at this point. It looks like it might have been temporary status, but I can't comment on the case. It's under investigation.
Well, he did say it was under investigation. So there you have it. AOC, watch out. She's been asking, she's been going on PBS. She's been sending letters to Pam Bondi at DOJ. She's like, am I under investigation? Am I under investigation? Am I under investigation? Guess what? You are. You are under investigation. All right. So think about that, because there is this little thing called the law. And the federal government doesn't have a lot of power. Believe me, I'm a states' rights girl. Okay, live free or die, New Hampshire. This is how I grew up. This is what I believe in. I believe in limited power. You don't want a big bloated federal government, any stretch of the imagination. But if there's one power the federal government does have, it's over who is in this country. And New York can't decide that. New Hampshire can't decide that. California can't decide that. New York City can't decide that. And New Jersey can't decide that. LaMonica MacGyver, you, as a freshman member of Congress, nobody knew who you were until this one, right? Now you're out there fundraising off of it. You can't decide it. AOC, that goes for you as well.
If anyone's breaking the law in this situation, it's not members of Congress, it's the Department of Homeland Security. It's people like Tom Homan and Secretary Kristi Noem. You lay a finger on them, we are going to have a problem.
I'm really not so sure how she thinks they are breaking the law. I mean, after all, you have a law. The law's on the books. You can't have people here illegally into the country. We do not have open borders. And so how is it that ICE is breaking the law when they actually have to get people who are here illegally out of the country, especially the ones that committed a crime? Look, I mean, Holman's not having that. This is one of my favorite exchanges from him. I mean, there's a few. If you watch the show, you might have seen, remember the one when they were both going at it on Capitol Hill? That was terrific. That was terrific. And he was schooling her, but he went on to CNN and schooled Jake Tapper a little bit, along with AOC in this clip. Take a look.
You can't intimidate me. Come on, give me a break. I was enforcing it. I was wearing a green uniform, Border Patrol agent, for 5 years before she was even born. I had more than 3 decades enforcing immigration law before she became a member of Congress. I worked for 6 presidents. I've seen policies. I've seen hundreds of policies. Some worked, some didn't. But you can't deny the success of the Trump administration when it comes to border security. Again, the most secure border in the history of this nation. And I said from day one, and she knows this, you can not support ICE. Shame on you. You can support sanctuary cities. Shame on you. But you can't cross the line. You can't knowingly impede ICE law enforcement officers. That is a felony. You can't harbor and conceal, knowingly harbor and conceal illegal alien from ICE. That is a felony. And you certainly can't commit criminal trespass. And as far as New York, her district, this administration has done more to protect her district than she has. The number of criminal aliens we took off the streets of New York made her community much safer. She ought to be thanking the members of this administration, the men and women of ICE, who protect this country and make her community safer. So, it's politics over public safety. It's just ridiculous. She ought to love her community more than she hates Trump, because we're doing a lot to protect her community.
I love that. She ought to love her community more than she hates Trump. So well said. I mean, he's awesome. I've known him many years, and he is passionate, really, really passionate about what he's doing. So, all in, I would just say to Mamdani, as far as Donald Trump goes, he's not kidding. You know what? Like, if you wind up being mayor, if you're lucky enough to wind up being mayor, and listen, guys, it could happen. Just watch Polymarket, right? Like they haven't been totally wrong. It could happen. So if he becomes mayor of New York and he wants to institute all this crazy stuff, well, there's going to be a lot that the federal government can actually put in the way of him. But specifically as it relates to the borders, he doesn't have any say on that. I mean, nor does Karen Bass, right? Karen Bass and Los Angeles, they're getting sued by the DOJ because they're not following along with any of the rules. They think they can stand in the way of ICE again. I mean, what is going on with these people? I'm blown away because I'm just sort of like, you know, it's really not what you want to pin your whole party on, this and the trans stuff. I'm sorry, like it just doesn't play with the rest of the country. I don't think it ever will. No matter how much sort of academia, you know what, you giant fetus, it never will. And listen, they've gone after New York too, and they'll go after LA. And I have a feeling they're going to win this all day long because you cannot stand in the way of the federal government, as they found out, right, when Donald Trump came in and federalized the National Guard. But remember what Pam said to New York.
This is a new DOJ, and we are taking steps to protect Americans, American citizens, and angel moms, like the mom standing right behind me, who you're going to hear from in a moment.
There's something called the naturalization clause. It's important to remember, and it's Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4. The Congress shall have power to establish a uniform rule of naturalization. And guess what that does? It gives Congress the authority to determine who can become a citizen and who can enter and remain in the country. So that's kind of a big deal. It's kind of a big deal because it means Karen Bass and the city of Los Angeles, or Mamdani, should he win, Zohran, I'll get it right eventually. Anyway, he doesn't have the right to say, okay, well, we're going to allow these people here. And if things get out of hand, as we saw they almost did just a couple of weeks ago with the No Kings protest, guess what? Donald Trump's coming in and he's got his National Guard ready, willing, and able to go.
Los Angeles, as you know, Jonathan, is 500 square miles. The problem that we had over a couple of days was about 1 square mile. It was about 4 blocks in Los Angeles. You know, and it wasn't that. I mean, after you have a major sporting event, you might have a lot of celebration, and then there's a few people that hang around and create confusion. There was vandalism for a couple of days. Our police department, sheriff department, and other surrounding agencies had the situation completely under control. And by the way, the only thing the National Guard is doing here is protecting one building. That's all. They're not involved in crime control. So if you look at why we have peace in Los Angeles, it's because of me as the mayor, our police chief, our sheriff. We had the situation completely under control. This was unnecessary, which is why I call it an experiment. They are testing to see how far can they go as the federal government in seizing power away from the state and local authorities.
Wow. So let's get the camera back up here and rolling. Hopefully you guys can hear me. There is something called the power to call up the National Guard. Okay, so the power to call up the National Guard, Title 10, U.S. Code 12406, allows for the president to federalize National Guard units to enforce federal laws or protect federal property, even when state officials don't request it. And so this is important because the National Guard can be called up. And by the way, it has been. I mean, think about throughout history. I mean, the most prominent example really that I can think of would be 1962, George Wallace, Alabama, right? Where they had to send in the National Guard and they had to federalize the National Guard. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, tried to get in the way of this. Karen Bass has tried to get in the way of this. And guess what the court decided? The Ninth Circuit made the decision that no, Donald Trump had every right to call in the National Guard because they weren't doing enough to take care of their people. So just fascinating stuff as we really are digging in to this sort of legalese, if you would, that afford these different powers. I mean, there's also the Commerce Clause. And again, let's make sure the camera is on. Let's see. Hopefully you guys can hear me as we go for the camera. There we go. But you've got the Commerce Clause, Section 8, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3. The Congress shall have power to regulate commerce with foreign nations. So once again, enabling them to control the immigration situation. And as we look to whether or not the feds might do something vis-a-vis the New York York City mayor, I would just say go back to everything that we're talking about here. Go back to all of this, because AOC's in trouble. She's under federal this Mamdani thing is going to drive me nuts. Let's correct that. She's under federal investigation. You've got Mamdani, who has not yet won, but Donald Trump saying, look, if he does win and he wants to stand in the way of things, we'll arrest him. And that's par for the course. But that's if he wins, okay? Again, I think that people have to be concerned about that. It is a very real possibility that he wins. And I think it's also a very real possibility that he's investigated heavily and may not actually have the chance to fully run there, because Congress is now demanding a full investigation into the guy. Andy Ogles was one of the first to point this out. This guy is a total full-blown communist. And when you're applying for citizenship here in the United States and you don't actually tell anyone, hey, I'm a full-blown communist, and I really don't have the interests of America at heart, I mean, that would be really, really at odds with what we care about. That's Venezuela stuff. That's China stuff. And if you don't actually make that clear by ticking off certain boxes, you're not fully disclosing everything, then you have to ask, well, could your citizenship be rescinded? Is it on some kind of temporary basis at all? Perhaps not, but it's an interesting question to ponder. And I do think that he's running a certain risk here. Don't forget, he was just made a U.S. citizen like 7 years ago or so. He's from Uganda. Quite a rebel of a guy. His dad was a post-colonial professor. You know what that means, right? Oh, we hate all white Europeans. They have ruined the world. I heard this hours on end from Chavez once. I went down there on a story, OPEC-related story, and I was trying to get an interview with him. So I'd go around and like listen to him speak, and he always spoke too long, so we never got around to the interview. But, you know, he had all these people listening to him with all this post-colonial garbage, right? He had just absorbed it and was feeding it out to the people nonstop. You look at what Venezuela is today. It is very clear that hasn't worked. It never works, okay? But anyway, Andy Ogles to the rescue, the representative from Tennessee trying to jump in and do something. Here he is on Newsmax the other night. I want you to see.
Well, so part of the process when you fill out the naturalization forms, which, you know, here's a copy of one here, is you've got to disclose your activities. So like communism, anti-American activities. And so in 2018, when he was naturalized, he failed to disclose some of the things that he had been doing, one of which was joining the Democrat Socialists of America. That's a communist organization, which quite frankly, at that time, would have disqualified him from becoming a United States citizen. So what we're encouraging to do is the Justice Department to look into the timing of his joining that organization. It would have been anti-American. It would have fit the definition of what he would have been required to disclose, and quite frankly, would have made him most likely ineligible to become a naturalized citizen. So if that's true, then the process could begin of him being denaturalized. Now, that being said, even if we can't prove or dot the I's and cross the T's and get this guy on this, it creates a template for these other individuals who come to this country. They're sleeper cells. They want to undermine our way of life. They want to take advantage of our generosity. Enough is enough. Look, I'm a proud American. I love my country, love my flag, I love my God, and I love my family. And I'm tired of us being taken advantage of by the rest of the world.
Well said, right? I mean, hey. It's like Ilhan Omar. Come on, lady. You know, this is a pretty good place. I realize where you came from is not so hot, but you don't want to turn us into you. Again, like think of who we are. We are the United States of America, #1 economy in the world. And by the way, it's good lately. It's good. You see the market, you see the jobs report. Woo! All right? It's good. And it's good because we have the right people calling the shots. And we don't want to change what's good. We want it to get better and better and better. And yet this commie idiot comes in there, and he is an idiot. I don't care how much education he had from the fancy Bank Street School for $65K a year. I don't care that his dad was a professor of post-colonial studies at Columbia University. I certainly don't care that his mom was a producer for Disney. I don't care that he went to Bowdoin College. I don't care about any of this, okay? This guy is a commie who's not that smart, because if he were smart, he'd have actually studied a little bit more so he knew what Econ 101 was. And yet this is the garbage he's pitching New York City.
Toward the Vienna model, we'll have to go beyond the market. We can establish community land trusts to gradually buy up housing on the private market and convert it to community ownership. We can give tenants a right of first refusal to buy out their landlords when buildings go up for sale. And we can fully commit to a new era of social housing, ending subsidies for luxury housing development and using our wealth to build beautiful, high-quality social housing projects that offer good homes and strong communities to everyone. We won't decommodify housing overnight, but we know what we have to do, and we have history to guide us.
Decommodify housing. What is it? Straight out of Marx? Where's that come from? Decommodify housing. He likes to use some fancy terms for a guy who doesn't understand Econ 101 or why capitalism is what capitalism is and why capitalism is great. You know, one of the most amazing things about the United States of America, and this is worth talking about because we're coming up on our big birthday, right? Is that we were the first place to actually recognize property rights. Right? We were the first ones. You think about the founding fathers that these guys want to tear down so fast. Our founding fathers, they knew that liberty could not exist if you didn't have a right to secure your property. So think about that. I mean, it was profound at the time because you go back to those days and you had all the Europeans with their monarchs just, doling out the land as they saw fit. Nobody really owned anything because the monarchs could take it away. Oh, kind of like the communists could take it away. You see, we're coming full circle. With the Mamdanis of the world, they want to take us back to a time that we were all trying to escape. And that this nation, by some miracle, was able to do because we understood the value of property rights. I mean, it's incredible when you think about it. I mean, Adams, when you go back to the Federalist Papers and some of the writings of Madison, he was adamant, right, that you had to protect property. Or you go back to what Ben Franklin was talking about, which was we needed not just property rights, but intellectual property rights, which are really important and actually really paved the way for so much innovation in this country. I mean, if you didn't actually have the right to a patent living in France because the monarch was going to take it over, well, why bother? They understood the good that could come of capitalism and the bad that could come of one monarch controlling everything, much like the Communist Party does, right? They see that they are the ones that should have all the resources and they're going to redistribute them as they see fit. AOC knows better than you what you need. Zohran, oh, he definitely knows better. But he doesn't. Nobody knows better. That's why the free market system is a special, unique system that has made us the envy of the world. The Fifth Amendment, I'm going to read it to you in its original text. It says, regarding property, that no one effectively should be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. That's like an eminent domain. So I'm curious how Zohran thinks he's going to go in and just tax the rich and tax the white, which, by the way, would be completely discriminatory and against the Constitution in other ways. But so you think you're going to go in and just take things from people or tax them and tax them and tax them some more? I mean, the government cannot take a private property. Okay, that's right there in the Constitution. Fifth Amendment. They were thinking about this 249 years ago. It's amazing. And that is what, ladies and gentlemen, created the American dream and created the foundation of the best economy in the world. No one else had done this. You go back to Greek times. Well, maybe for some nobility, they had some property rights. You go back even to England, which may have been the closest at the time. But again, you had to be in a certain kind of rank and file in order to have any of that. Because the everyday person, they didn't qualify. They didn't have any rights. There were no property rights. And what they believed in here in America, Cat Crazy, thank you so much, pointing out that socialism is a system that only works in heaven, where it isn't needed, and in hell, where they've already got it. I love that. I love it. Thank you, Cat Crazy. It's a good one. Let me see if I can put it actually up on the screen. There we go. If you guys can see it. Yeah, okay. Anyway, you get Cat Crazy's point if you're watching in the live chat. That's a good one. It's a problem that we have too many young people now seeking out this utopia that does not exist. Because remember, and I think about it, I'm in the Portsmouth, New Hampshire sort of surrounding area, and there's a lot of history here. You just walk down those brick streets and the cobblestone streets in town, and you're just looking around, and there's John Paul Jones' house, this, that, and the other. There's all these like just sort of statues, et cetera, everything that kind of this speaks volumes about the history of who we are as a nation. And it's a pretty special history, okay? Because again, no one else has got it. The Europeans couldn't come close. We had a unique opportunity, and part of that freedom is through the extension of a right to life, liberty, and property. All right? So there's a lot of economic reasons for our freedom, and freedom that is tied to the economy. And this is what the Zohrans and the AOCs and the Jasmine Crockett's and the LaMonicas of the world are missing. And Letitia, they're all missing this. They don't get it because they figure, oh, well, we don't have enough. We want to make sure we get our fair share. And so we're just going to take. Oh, you can't. You know why? Because we got a Fifth Amendment. And we're not going to do that. And we're not going to become that. We're way, way, way too good for that. And you know what? Donald Trump is just getting stronger every single day. We're talking win after win after win after win. I mean, you got a big one. Mike Johnson coming out announcing the big, beautiful bill.
On this vote, the yeas are 218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
And then they started playing YMCA. I mean, it is massive. It has been such a run here that, you know what, even CNN had to admit it. Even CNN. They're like, you know, that jobs report, guys, it was phenomenal because we weren't looking for anything close to that. We got way more jobs than we thought. Granted, I'd like more jobs, but I'm just saying this blew past estimates, blew past every estimate. And then you look at the unemployment rate coming down to 4.1%. I mean, hallelujah, right? Poor CNN even having to say, gee, this is good.
You expected some of this, but this is better than expected?
Yeah, Sarah, it is. Look, this jobs market is like the Energizer Bunny. Every single time we expect it to run out of steam, it just keeps going and going. So these new numbers show that the U.S. economy added 147,000 jobs in June. That was well ahead of the expectation of about 118,000, well ahead of some whispers that we heard on Wall Street of a sub 100,000 number. So this is indeed beating expectations. We were also expecting a slowdown. We did not get that. This is basically in line with May, which was revised higher. It's also good news. The unemployment rate was expected to go up. It didn't. It went down to 4.1%. That is a very healthy number. This is still relatively historically low. And again, it's below the 4.3% that we had expected.
Pretty good. Right? Pretty good. Hard to complain with that. I mean, it's so good that Debbie Wasserman Schultz looked like a total fool when she went on the air today because she had more complaining to do. And, well, the CNN anchor was like, gosh, you know, gas prices are coming down, jobs are being added, inflation is lower, the market's up. Like, what is there to complain about? Oh, Debbie finds something, she finds something, but we won't listen to the whole thing because, well, I don't want to do that to you, especially as we're approaching a holiday. But anyway, just hear how whiny she is as the CNN anchor is kind of sounding kind of sort of MAGA.
Here are some things that have happened. Gas prices down. Economic indicators are decent. Brand new jobs report shows that's much better than expected. And border crossings are down. And now Trump's mega spending bill looks like it's going to be passed by Republicans. How do you Democrats fight back with the wins that Trump can tout?
Well, it depends on how you define win, Sarah. I mean, the way I can summarize this big ugly bill best is Republicans caved, Trump lied, and people will die. This bill does kick.
Oh, she was just getting started. I mean, again, I'm not going to do that to you. She just goes on and on and on and on. And look, you know what? I know it's not perfect. I know there are things that we all want, and I'm a fiscal hawk too, and I get it. But here's the reality. We need an extension of those tax cuts. It's actually really critical for the economy that we got that. Again, they want to take all the money, okay? They want to take it and they want to redistribute it. And it's really important that we always put it back in the hands of the people. Donald Trump gets that. He was a business owner. He certainly understands that. Thank you, Stephen Mays. I'm not entirely sure about the lifting weights, what you mean, but appreciate your generosity. Anyway, listen, Debbie's a downer. Debbie's a downer. Okay, Debbie's a real downer. Even CNN's like, this is good. Like, I mean, things are actually looking up for everyday people. So who wants to argue with success? I mean, for goodness sakes, you had Rahm Emanuel saying the Iran strikes were a good move. You even had Shifty Shift, who couldn't bring himself to criticize that. I'm like, what's going on with the world? Maybe, I'm going to go out on a limb. Maybe they're realizing they just can't fight this anymore, because the more they fight it, the more they're encouraging the crazies like Mamdani to get involved. The more they're giving oxygen to the AOCs of the world, the more they're encouraging the LaMonicas that are gonna muscle their way through anything, quite literally. Maybe they're coming to this recognition that you cannot fight this because it's actually what's good for the country and for the world. I'll tell you, it's been good for my portfolio. I hope you guys got 76 research. If you didn't, I'm going to get a little bit mad because, like, you know what? You're not making the money you should. It's just $1 a month. These are our 3 portfolios. Those cost a little bit more. But there's a lot of great names in there. You get like 10 to 15 names, and just look at that. The American Resilience. This is just in the last quarter, okay? This is 12 months ending 6/30/2025. So in the last 12 months, we've got our top tech stock pick up 57%, energy up 53%. You go over to inflation protection portfolio, some of the material ones have been doing really well, up 73% with the top pick. Income builder, you've got an energy pick up 55%. We got this note, and I wanted to share it with you because this is the cheap one. You can get this for $1 a month. Go to 76research.com. We recommended that you guys look at Strike. And I want to say, let me see if we put this in here. This is just some feedback that we got from a 76research.com subscriber, somebody on this that gets the 76 report. And we came out, I want to say this was in March, and we said, go think about getting STRK, which is a convertible bond that the company MSTR, Michael Saylor, offers, because it paid a great dividend. It's got an 8% dividend, and it's way up. Well, it's actually up, I believe, 45% since we recommended it. This particular subscriber bought it in May, and it's now up 30% plus the 8% quarterly dividend. So this subscriber is super duper happy. I get it. You know what? Everybody's happy because America's winning. America's winning. It's, by the way, 76research.com. Use code word dollar, DOLLAR, just $1 a month. Goes to $9.95 thereafter. But this is, once again, a testimony to the success we're seeing because you got good leadership putting in good policy. And you know what? It feeds upon itself. So I expect a lot more good stuff. Winning, 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 winning. And I'm excited about the holiday. I'm super excited about the holiday. So excited. I thought, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America,
good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea, from sea to shining sea.
Right. Well, I got to make a few more recordings. I'll get around to it at some point, but we got to roll it out for the holidays. That we may get the national anthem tomorrow. We'll see. Anyway, it's great to have you all here. Thank you for all you do. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. We got a lot more content coming your way over the weekend, over the 4th of July holiday. But just know this, we are unique and we are special for a reason. We are the greatest place. We are thankful that we have the opportunity to be born and to live in the greatest economy on earth with the most freedom, because we had people that came here and took chances and had the foresight to think about what might be next, and we can't let it get destroyed by the Zohran Mamdanis of the world or the commies like AOC that want to take it all away and redistribute everything that you've worked hard for. It's not going to happen. We got a Constitution backing us up. America is beautiful. Happy birthday, America 249. How about it? I will see you back here live tomorrow.